Hello everyone and welcome to Frick Programming. Today we're going to take an in-depth look of the basic Java program. I think I've done a video along the lines of this before, but we're going to do it again. So we're going to take a look at this program. It's a very basic program that will only print to the console. This is very much any type of program that you'll see the first time you're programming in any language. You'll typically see one printing a basic statement to the console. But before we get started, we have to go over some basic syntax. So I have this chart here that goes over some of the basic syntax of the Java programming language. And first, we start with the curly braces. This denotes a block of code. You usually see this at the end of a class statement or a method statement. That denotes that code continuing is going to be a block of code. You also see this in if statements, but not all the time if you don't have to. Then you have parentheses, which are typically used with methods, but are used fairly throughout all of the language because you can use them with if statements and looping. Square brackets denotes an array. You'll typically only see square brackets with the array. Double slashes denotes a comment, meaning that anything that comes after the double slashes are human readable text. It's not going to be read by the computer at all. After that, we have the quotation marks, which enclose a string or a sequence of characters. And then we have the quintessential semicolon. You need to have a semicolon at the end of every single statement that you do within Java, otherwise your statement would be incorrect. It wouldn't be read by the compiler. So we're going to break the code down into its individual parts to really go over what makes up this program. So first we have the class. And as you can see, every Java program needs to have at least one of these to run perfectly. By typical programmer convention, the name of the class must start with an uppercase letter, and the syntax of the class structure usually means the scope modifier, public, private, or protected. You could actually forego a scope modifier, but it will default to being package level at that point. We'll get more into that later down the line. Then you have the keyword class, and then the name of the class, followed by curly braces, which denotes that anything within the curly braces belongs to this class. Then we get into the main method of this program. The main method is the entry point of the program. It's actually the entry point of any program. Whenever you have a main method, you know the code is going to be executed here. So any code inside the main program gets executed. Now the main program can call out to other sections of the code, which we'll get further into later when we start breaking off into other methods. And there can only be one main method per program. If you have multiple main methods, the code actually doesn't know where to start the execution and can get confused. So this leaves the executable code left. And the executable code is the code that will be executed. It will be the code that will start line by line sequentially. In this case, the only thing that happens is welcome to Java will be printed out to the console. We're going to look further into this so we get a full explanation of what's really going on in the executable code. So here we are at the executable code, system.out.println welcome to Java, and a line above it. Well, the system.out.println is a method within the system.out library. The parameters of a println method is a string, and a string is a sequence of characters. But what is a sequence of characters normally? Well, in human talk or talk that you have normally, it's typically referred to as a sentence. It doesn't have to be a sentence, but it's typically a sentence. The system.out library will contain methods relating to outputting information to the console. It could also have methods relating to output to any output that you would have, but since you're putting typically just text through it, it will go to the console. And for Java, it will go into the Java console, which comes with the Java virtual machine. And the line above it contains the 2 forward slashes, the double slash. And it's a comment. So this line will not be read by the compiler. Instead, this is just text for us to read. Now, you'll see that it just says to do auto-generated method stub. This is auto-generated from my IDE. So I could get rid of it, or I could keep it. It means nothing. It's just there for me to read. And then finally, as we can see, the statement ends with a semicolon. This indicates that the statement has to come to an end, and you have to really remember to include these. If you don't, you'll get an error when you try compiling and running the program. So we're just going to go see the program in action. My program. This is what it is. Public class welcome, public statement void main string, and the arguments that can be passed in when you start running the program. Then we have our system.out.println welcome to Java. So if I go ahead and just run this program, it prints out welcome to Java, which is exactly what we said it would do. So if you are working in Eclipse, you can actually have IntelliSense. And IntelliSense will basically give you a drop-down menu of what things are. So if I go and hover over the system, you'll see we get this text box that pops up. And it'll give you a little bit of explanation of what it is. And if you do it over a method, it'll actually tell you what parameters it needs. So this is a void method, meaning that it doesn't return anything. And it's coming from the java.io.printstream location, which is a library that comes with Java. And it takes parameter string x, and we can see down here that x is the string to be printed. Now, IntelliSense is really, really helpful, especially if you're creating a program, or you get a program if you become a programmer, and you need to go and edit it, or you need to make sure that everything's running smoothly. If everything's documented correctly, IntelliSense will pick up all documentation that comes with this custom class or custom program that you've received, and will tell you exactly what it does if you hover over it. So it's very useful, and I highly recommend downloading Eclipse. But that is where we're going to stop for today. Thank you very much for watching.